The restaurant smelled of expensive wine and fresh bread, but I barely noticed. My eyes were locked on the man across the table, the one my wife had been talking to for months about business strategy and team synergy. He smiled, a smug, self-satisfied smile that immediately set my nerves on edge. I hadn't intended to walk into this dinner. I hadn't even known it existed. But fate apparently had other plans. "Wait, you're her ex," the man said. His smirk, sharp enough to cut glass, froze. The fork in my hand trembled. Across from me, my wife Julia went pale. The laughter that had lit up her face in our car ride here evaporated into a thin sheen of ice. "Starting now," I said, my voice low, steady but tinged with something Julia hadn't heard in years. "I want the truth." Julia's hand hovered over her wine glass, fingers twisting the stem. I don't know what you mean," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. I leaned forward, the table between us suddenly irrelevant. "Don't lie to me. You've been lying for months, Julia. Every time you said you were staying late at work. Every time your phone buzzed and you walked out to take a call." "I know." The man chuckled, a sound meant to taunt, but it only made my chest tighten. Julia's eyes darted between me and him, pleading without words. I swear it's not what you think," she said, but her tone was brittle, like glass teetering on the edge of breaking. I took a slow breath. "Then explain why he's here, smiling at me like he owns everything, like I'm nothing." She didn't answer. She couldn't. I'd known Julia for 12 years. She was the woman I had woken up next to every morning, the one I had shared dreams with, bills, arguments, laughter. I had trusted her completely, never imagining that behind her warm smile, there was a web of secrets I had never guessed existed. And now, sitting here, I could feel the foundation of my world cracking. The man leaned back in his chair, still smirking, still holding the same arrogance that had always made me uneasy. "It's complicated," he said finally, as if that could somehow make this all better. "We've got history. But hey, you're her husband now, right? That's cute." Cute. The word echoed in my head. I could feel a storm building in my chest, a mixture of rage, disbelief, and heartbreak that made my hands shake. "Complicated?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "You mean, you two have been seeing each other while I thought we were normal?" Julia's eyes filled with tears, but not the tears of remorse. They were tears of fear, of being caught, of the consequences she had long avoided. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. "I never wanted you to find out like this. It just happened." "It just happened," I repeated, tasting the bitter irony. My mind raced through every late night, every suspicious text, every sudden business trip. "You call this love? Betrayal? How could you do this to me, to us?" The smirk on his face widened. He was enjoying this far more than he should. My fingers clenched into fists. "You think this is funny?" I asked, my voice low, dangerous. He shrugged. "Life's messy. You want neat and tidy, maybe that's your problem." I turned my gaze back to Julia. "Why didn't you tell me? Was I not enough? Did you need him for something I couldn't give?" She looked away, unable to meet my eyes. The weight of silence between us was crushing. I don't know. I didn't plan for this. I wanted to end it, but I didn't know how." "And now?" I asked, though I feared the answer. Her lips trembled. "Now, I don't know if I can fix it." My chest felt like it had been punched repeatedly. The love I had thought was solid, unshakable, now seemed fragile and transient, like smoke slipping through my fingers. I remembered the nights we stayed up talking, planning a future together, imagining children, trips, quiet mornings. And now those dreams felt like lies. I stood up, chair scraping against the floor, and my voice trembled, not from weakness but from anger and sorrow. "You've been living a double life, Julia. You've been smiling at me, hugging me, pretending. And all the while," I looked at him, my voice rising, "you were pretending with him too." The man finally leaned forward, his smugness faltering just a bit. "Look, I didn't force her. She came to me. You think you own her feelings. I laughed, bitter and hollow. I don't own anything anymore. Not her, not this marriage. Maybe I never did. Julia sobbed quietly, but her tears were too late. The walls she had built, the secrets she had nurtured, had collapsed under their own weight. I felt the last thread of trust snap. I need to know something, I said, my voice steadier now, cold. How long? Julia flinched, the question piercing her like a blade. Months, she admitted, her voice breaking. Since early spring. My stomach turned. All those months I had thought we were building a life together. She had been hiding him in plain sight. And the casual ease with which she smiled at me, the way she kissed me goodnight, it all became a theater, a performance. I closed my eyes, trying to hold back the rage that threatened to consume me. My love for her was still there, buried deep, but it was mixed with pain so sharp it made my teeth ache. Months, I repeated, letting the word hang between us like smoke. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you like this. Her apology, sincere as it might have been, couldn't repair the damage. Apologies are words. Betrayal is a wound that bleeds in silence. I looked at him one last time. You need to leave, I said. There was no more fear. Only the quiet authority of someone who had lost everything and in that loss, found a clarity he hadn't known before. He stood, collected his things, and offered a mock salute. Good luck, man, he said and left. The moment the door shut, the room felt impossibly still. I turned to Julia. She was crumpled in her chair, small and fragile. Her beauty no longer enough to soften the weight of her actions. I wanted to scream, to break something, to make her feel even a fraction of this pain. But I couldn't. Because somewhere, beneath the fury and heartbreak, I still loved her. And that love hurt more than anything else. Why? I whispered, not demanding, not accusing, just needing to understand. She looked up, her eyes red and raw. I was lonely, felt invisible, and he made me feel seen. For a while. I don't know. She trailed off, shaking. I made a mistake. I swallowed hard, trying to keep the lump in my throat from choking me. A mistake. Julia, this isn't dropping a plate. You've destroyed trust, built a life on lies. And for what? Attention. Excitement. She couldn't answer. There was nothing left to say. I left the restaurant that night without looking back. The cool night air hit my face, but it did little to calm the storm inside me. I walked through the streets, every step heavy, every memory of her now poisoned with betrayal. I realized then that love, no matter how deep, could be shattered. That trust, once broken, might never be restored. And yet, I knew I had to survive this. Somehow. For myself. For the man I used to be before I loved her. I didn't know if I would ever forgive Julia. I didn't know if our marriage could survive. But I did know this. I would never be blind again. I would never ignore the signs. And I would never forget the pain of loving someone who chose another over the life you built together. As I walked into the night, the city lights blurred into streaks of gold and silver, I realized that heartbreak could be a teacher. Harsh, merciless, but undeniable. And I would learn. I had no choice.